Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel Think CSEC. Today we'll be doing the CSEC Principles of Business January 2019 past paper 2. But I want to say thanks to all those who have already subscribed to the channel. And if you're new to the channel, please just pause this video and go right ahead and hit the subscribe button and turn on your post notification bell so that you are alerted when new videos are posted. So let us get right into it. So we'll be looking at question 1. Here it says define the term capital as a factor of production and state two examples. So what is capital? Well, capital is really all man-made assets or resources used to produce goods and services. And some examples are manufacturing machines, equipments, buildings, raw materials, tools, or vehicles. Those are some examples. Let us get right into the B part of this question. It says, list 4 sources of capital that could be used when setting up a business. So what are 4 sources of capital? 1, you can get it from friends and family. 2, from personal savings. 3, government grants. 4, loans from financial institutions. 5, you can use equity. 6, venture capital. And 7, crowdfunding. So those are some sources of capital that you could use in setting up a business. Let's move on to C. It says, June wants to set up a small supermarket, but is unsure whether she should operate as a sole trader or establish a partnership. The first part of the question says, define the term partnership. So what's really a partnership? Well, a partnership is a business that is shared by 2 to 20 people. Or you could say a partnership is an association of 2 or more partners operating a business for the common goal of making a profit. So that's either definition would be acceptable. Let's move on to the second part of the question. It says, outline 2 benefits of June establishing a partnership over a sole trader type business. So what are the benefits or the advantages of setting up a partnership over a sole trader? And we notice this is worth 4 marks. So outline means that you have to give a little explanation. So one advantage is that of a partnership compared to over sole trader, more capital. You have more persons available in a partnership type of business than a sole trader type, so more capital can be raised. Another advantage of setting up a partnership over a sole trader. In a partnership type business, each partner can take a holiday or time off for vacation without this affecting the business because the workload or the duties are shared. Whereas in a sole trader type business, it's just one person and it makes it more difficult for him to take a vacation from the business. Another advantage is that of a partnership over a sole trader, the business benefits from various ideas, abilities, knowledge, and experience of each partner, which gives the company a better chance of succeed. Another benefit, should the business or all should the business fail, then the partners there in a partnership will bear all the losses or the risk. Whereas in a sole trader, then he's a one-man show, so he lost or loses everything. So he bears all the losses. So those are 4 benefits that you can select 2 from, and you'll get your 4 marks. The third part of the question says, suggest 3 ethical issues that June should consider in setting up and operating her business. So what are some ethical issues? Well, one, she should ensure that the business is a bona fide firm or establishment and not using it as a front for money laundering and other illicit activities. Another ethical issue, she should ensure that capital is legally obtained and not tainted with illegal operations as the source of funding. Another ethical issue, she would ensure that payment of national insurance contribution and taxes are paid to the government on time. Another thing she would consider, should ensure that the type of advertisement that she's using, it is not misleading the public. And another ethical issue she would have to consider is to ensure that setting up the business, there are no environmental issues that the business would violate, the business practice would violate or be damaging to the environment. So those are some 5 ethical issues, but it just says 3. So you could select any 3 from that. The fourth part of the question says, explain to June the importance of conducting a feasibility study. So what's the importance of conducting a feasibility? Some reasons are, 1, to ascertain the viability. The feasibility study should enable entrepreneurs to ascertain whether they should go ahead with launching a business or in producing a product or service. If the study produces the result that a project is not viable or the business is not viable at the current time, then the entrepreneur would not go ahead because it's not going to work out. And as we know, a feasibility study is really a detailed investigation or research that is being done to find out whether or not a business idea or a venture or a project is viable or if it will work before going ahead with it. So that's another simple way of saying it. Another importance of conducting feasibility study is to identify the possible cost attached to the project. A viability study should be done in order to identify how much it will cost to start the business, such as the cost for the materials, the cost of the equipment, the cost of borrowing, how many interest charges would be paid back, um, what are the factors of production, what's the cost of that, and the government costs such as taxes that the business would have to be paid over to, and when these payments would be due. So you ascertain the cost that it involves. Another importance of conducting a feasibility study is to identify possible sources of finance. Now, a feasibility study is important as it will identify proven sources of finances, whether the bank will grant a loan based on the detailed business plan, how much finance will be available, when it will be available, and when repayments can be made to the financial institutions. If any of these details are not viable, then an entrepreneur will know that their business is not going to work. So they will not go ahead and do that. So those are 3 important reasons that we discussed in conducting a feasibility study. Let's go on to question number 2. It says, business organizations perform many transactions daily. which require the use of documents. The first part of the question A of 2 says list 3 types of business documents. So that is worth 3 marks. So what are some business documents? We have debit note, we have credit note, pro forma invoice, we have a letter of inquiry, we have order note, we have a quotation, and we have purchase requisitions and statement of accounts, and we also have stock cards. So those we listed 9 types of business documents. 9 types were listed. So you could select any 3 from the 9. Let's move on to the second part of question 2A. It says, state 3 reasons why firms utilize documents in business transactions. So what are 3 reasons? 1, it is a legal requirement by the government that business transactions be recorded for tax purposes and audit. For example, the sales and the purchases would have to be recorded, and these would have to be documented. These taxes would have to be documented so that it could show the taxes that have been collected. A second reason is to track business transaction or activities. Another reason why firms utilize documents is to keep accurate accounting records for internal and external auditing. So those are 3 reasons, and listing them, you would get your 3 marks. Let's move on to the B part of the question. It says this is worth 4 marks. It says distinguish between insurance and assurance. So what is insurance? Well, insurance is based on the probability or chance or the likelihood of an event that might happen. For example, a flood, theft, fire, an injury or an accident, and so on. It aims to compensate the policyholder financially for any loss or damage suffered. Whereas assurance is based on a risk that will happen or occur, such as death. So, as we know, all policies on a person's life are assurance, and everyone at some point we know will die. So that is why persons take out life insurance. All right. So assurance, it is sure to happen. It is sure, it's a must. Insurance, a chance. It might happen. Let's move on to question number C. It says name 2 types of insurance policies, and that's worth 2 marks. We have life assurance, we have marine insurance, we have motor vehicle insurance, we have employees liability insurance, we have public liability insurance, we have fire, building, and equipment insurance, and also we have product liability insurance. So we listed 7 types of insurance policy that you could select any 2 from. Let's move on to the D part of the question. It says, outline 1 principle upon which insurance is based. So what are some principles? Well, 1, pooling of risk. 2, subrogation. 3, proximate proximate cause. 4, indemnity. 5, utmost good faith. 6, contribution. 7, insurable interest. So 7, we've listed 7 principles. And in outlining now, you would give a little explanation. For example, pooling of risk. This is an insured person. They will pay a small regular sum of money called premium to an insurance company who pools all of his money together. So different persons pool together, they pool funds to the insurance company, and when someone makes a claim, then the insurance company can pay them from the pool of funds and compensate them for the losses. Subrogation. This is where the compensation is paid by the insurance company. It takes the place of the goods or property for which the claim is made. For example, a supermarket owned goods were damaged and stolen in a robbery. He claims for the losses and receives compensation by his insurance company. Proximate cause. This principle states that the cause of the loss must be that which is claimed for or against what is insured for and not something else. An insurance company will only cover events that fall within its policy terms and conditions. Exactly what you insured for is what you're going to get. For example, if you insured your house against fire and a gas tanker parked outside your house and it blew up and the fire started from that and then it went into the house. No, you would not. Your insurance company would not compensate you. Why? Because the fire was started by the gas tanker. It did not happen actually in the house. And your insurance is for fire in your house. So you could not get a claim. So, but what you could do is to claim the owner of the tanker for the damages that have been done to your house. Indemnity. Now, this principle involves restoring or putting someone back into a position that they were in prior to a loss occurring or before it occurred. So the insurance company will try to compensate the insured precisely as possible. For example, if an old car is damaged badly in an accident so that it cannot be repaired, now an individual or owner of that car cannot expect the insurance company to give them the money for a brand new car. Why? The car is an old car. So what the insurance company will do would only pay you, if you're the owner, sufficient money to cover or the value of that old car so that you could purchase something of that model. Utmost good faith now. All parties in a contract must disclose all relevant information with absolute honesty. When taking out an insurance coverage, an individual or business should not hide facts that are pertinent to the setting of premiums and providing compensation. For example, when taking out a motor insurance, the customer needs to tell the insurance company whether or not he or she has met in any previous accident or if they have any infringements on their driver's license. So it's very important to speak the truth. What about contribution? This principle applies when a person or company has insured with more than one insurance company. So, in the case of a loss, the person or company cannot claim the full amount from the two insurance companies. Rather, the two insurance companies would each agree to pay a proportion or a contribution or a part, they would pay half and half to cover the loss in order to make full payment to the insured person. What about insurable risk? Well, an individual or a company business can only take out an insurance when he or she has a personal interest in an event that will suffer some kind of loss. For example, it can you can only insure your own life. I can only insure my own life, but not your life, neither the life of my neighbor nor someone else. So a company can only insure his own business, his own buildings, not someone else. So we discussed those seven, sorry, in details. So you could select one of those principles and explain it. Let's move on to the E part. It says explain two ways in which insurance is beneficial to a firm. Well, what are some ways insurance is beneficial? One, it provides coverage for property damage. So in case a business or its operation causes damages to another property, then the liability insurance will cover such a loss or damage. For example, a company vehicle runs into another business place and damage their property. The insurance company will cover the cost for that damage that is being done. Two, it provides coverage for lawsuits and settlements. When any damage is caused by a business, the liability insurance policy covers the investigation and attorney expenses when a lawsuit is filed against it. For example, a person fell down by accident on the business property and they sued the company. So a company having insurance can take care of that. Three, it helps minimize the financial losses and reduce risk. Having a business insurance in place helps the business to reduce financial losses and it reduces the risk when an unforeseen event occurs. For example, when trading internationally, a company can take out a freight insurance. So it can claim compensation if, for example, a parcel or a container got lost or damaged. A business person now would be more inclined to engage in trade because he knows that the insurance would reduce the risk of financial loss. Four, it can provide protection against disastrous events such as accident, fire, employee injuries, etc. Insurance can ensure continuity for a company since it helps to restore a business to its former position before the unseen event. So, those are four ways in which insurance is beneficial to a firm. Let's move on. So we're at question 3 now. It says, state two advantages to the customer of utilizing each of the following terms of sales cash. So what is the advantage of using cash? One, cash is fast, convenient, and is universal acceptable for payments of goods and services. Two, there is no additional charges of interest after you have made your purchase. So those are two advantages of cash, and you will be awarded 2 marks for that. What about advantages of hire purchase? This is worth 2 marks too. So advantages of hire purchase. One, it is convenient in payment. The buyer is greatly benefited as he has to make the payment in installments. So the buyer benefits from this. This is advantage to the people having limited income for people who can't afford to buy it at cash price. So that is why we know of Courts and Singer having higher purchase agreements to make it convenient in payment for persons with low income. Another advantage too, the buyer can have the full and immediate use of the item or goods while paying for them rather than paying the entire amount all at once. So that's another one. In the event of something should happen to the product, then the warranty that is on it, you may be able to exchange it and receive another product. So you can carry back if it's an appliance not working, you can take it back to court and it can be exchanged based on your warranty. What about advantages of layaway plan? Well, layaway now, one advantage is that there is no interest in payments. Two, you make small payments over time. You can do that weekly, bi-weekly, or even monthly, depending on the store's policy. And after you've made those small payments, once you finish paying for your goods, then you have it. So those are two advantages. What about, let's go on to the B part of question 3. This is worth 2 marks. It says, describe one factor that could influence the behavior of consumers. What are some factors that could influence the behavior? 1, price. 2, price of substitutes. 3, quality. 4, taste. 5, tradition. 6, income or the affordability of an item. 7, spending patterns. 8, the brand loyalty. So we have 8 factors there listed. All you need to do is select one and give a little description on it. And you will be awarded your 2 marks. Let's look at question 3C. It says, figure 1 shows a traditional claim of distribution for a certain product. So we have the traditional chain of distribution. We know we have our own manufacturer, then we have our wholesaler, then we have our retailer, then we have our consumer. So that's the chain: manufacturer, then we have our wholesaler, then our retailer, then the consumer. So that would be worth 4 marks. You would get your 4 marks there. The D part of the question says, list 4 problems that are likely to be encountered in the distribution of goods. So 4 problems. 1, delayed shipment. 2, spoilage. 3, misdirection of goods. 4, inadequate warehousing facilities. 5, lack of proper security measures. 6, industrial unrest. And 7, ineffective communication. So those are some problems that are likely to be encountered in the distribution of goods, and you'll get your 4 marks. The E part says, suggest one appropriate mode of transportation for each of the following products. 1, fresh meat from processing plant to supermarket. What means of transportation? We know that is a refrigerated truck. 2, cement from factory to construction site. We know that's truck. Again, that's the mode of transportation. 3, oil from oil field to refinery. We know that's through pipelines. And 4, backside from mine to processing plant. We know that is trucks. All right, so each of those will be awarded 1 mark. And in total for question 3, you would get 20 marks. Let's go on to number 4. Outline 2 ways in which a budget could assist persons in the management of their personal income. So 2 ways. 1, a budget helps one plan or organize how they will allocate or spend their income. Now, this makes it easier to see exactly what money will be spent on, how much money will be spent on monthly expenses, and how much money will be able to save. Number 2, a budget allows you to know exactly where the money is coming from, how much is coming in, where it is being spent, and how much you have at the end of each month. Budgeting gives you control of your income and can save you from tons of headache that comes from overspending, which oftentimes end up in debt. So those are just 2 ways in which a budget could assist you. And that will be worth 4 marks. The B part says, describe 3 services offered by commercial banks. So what are some services? Well, loans are 1. 2, savings and deposit accounts. 3, making payments. 4, night safe deposits. 5, online banking. 6, advisory services. 7, credit and debit cards. 8, trustee work. 9, deposit boxes. 10, ATM or ABM services. 11, e-trade. 12, settlement services. And 13, remittance services. So 13 you have, you can select any three and you will be awarded your 3 marks. 6 marks, sorry. So what you do, you'd give a little explanation, give a little description on any 3 that is mentioned, and you would get your full 6 marks. C says, list 4 functions of central bank. 4 functions. 1, regulates the issue, supply, and availability of money. That is the printing of currency of notes and coins. 2, act as the government's bank. 3, enforcing financial regulations from government. 4, administering the registering of financial institutions. 5, enforcing license of various financial activities, including depository, lending collection, and money transmission activities. 6, advising the government on monetary and fiscal matters. 7, providing statistical data to the government and the public. 8, keep or hold reserves. 9, supervising or regulates the operations of all financial institutions, especially commercial banks. And 10, influencing or establishing interest rates in a country. So any 4 from the list and you would be awarded your 4 marks. Let's go on to the D part. It says, explain how the central bank uses each of the following measures to regulate the activities of commercial banks. The open market operations. Well, the open market operations. The central bank, what they do, they buys and sells government securities or bonds, such as treasury bills or notes in the open market to and from commercial banks as a way to implement monetary policy or the supply of money in the banking system and to influence interest rates. So when the central banks want rates, they to rise, they sell securities to banks. Now, this is done to slow inflation and stabilize economic growth. Now, this action, what it does, it forces the commercial banks to pay more to borrow money from the central bank. Now, this action now, it forces the commercial bank in turn to raise their own interest rates to lenders in order to make a profit. So with this higher interest rates, then this would discourage customers from buying, from borrowing. Now, when they need to lower the interest rate, what they do, they buy or purchase securities with the goal of lowering unemployment and stimulate the economic growth. Now, this is done to encourage borrowing. So the commercial banks, what they do, they're in a better position now to lend more to the customers at a lower interest rate. So that's open market operations, and you will get 3 marks. The second part says liquid asset requirements. Now, liquid assets are cash or assets that can be converted into cash quickly. So the central bank will advise commercial banks about keeping suitable ratios of cash kept in reserve, um, or loan or funds lent out. Now, the commercial banks, they will keep a certain proportion of its assets in cash and liquid form. So if the central bank believes that the commercial bank is lending too much, now it can ask them to keep a higher liquid ratio and control the volume of bank lending by asking the commercial banks to alter their liquidity ratios. So those two concepts you'd have to study a little bit more to understand it. So, but you will get 3 marks. Let's move on to our final question. It says, define each of the following types of taxes. Progressive tax. Now, a progressive tax is one in which a taxpayer with a higher income earner pays a larger amount as well as a larger proportion or percentage of their income in taxes. For example, the wealthy or the richer class, they will pay a lot more. What about proportional tax? That word 2 marks. Proportional tax now is one in which all taxpayer pays the same percentage tax, regardless of how much income they earn. So the low class, the middle class, and the high earners all pay the same tax. That is worth 2 marks. Let's go to the B part. It says, state 3 reasons why government charge taxes. Well, 3 reasons. One, to curb inflation by reducing the supply of money in the economy. Two, to remove competition from local goods in order to protect our infant or fledgling industry by taxing imports at high rates. 3, to lower employment by encouraging persons to buy local produce, thus encouraging linkages among sectors. And 4, to achieve greater equality in the distribution of wealth and income by having the higher income earners so as to provide social services such as healthcare, national insurance, education, roads, and transportation for the majority of citizens. So they are taxed higher to the benefit of others, lower income earners. And you will get 3 marks. So you just need to select 3. The C part of the question says, identify 3 ways in which governments regulate the activities of business. 1, through taxation. 2, government use safety and health regulations. 3, passing of laws to protect the environment. So those are 3 marks. Let's go on to the D part. It says outline 2 measures used by governments to protect consumers. 1, the Bureau of Standards. 2, through the Consumer Affairs. 3, Food and Drug Act. Let's explain them a little bit. Now, the Bureau of Standards. The Bureau of Standards now, the Standard Act gives the Bureau the permission to develop and to promote standards for improving goods and services in order to encourage the development of industries as well as to ensure the health and safety of consumers and the protection of the environment. The Consumer Affairs Commissions. The agency of the government was set up to protect the rights of consumers. Its primary aims is to educate both business people and consumers so that there is a reduction in the number of complaints. The commission listens to both parties to get all the facts. If the firm has a fault, then they will get them to compensate consumers and to improve the product. The Food and Drug Act now. Now, the government stipulates that Food and Drug Act must be prepared under sanitary conditions to avoid exposing consumers to potential health hazards. Through the Public Health Safety Act, that's another one. 4 now. Government regulates the conditions under which animals are slaughtered and meats are stored. This act allows required butchers to be licensed and to be free from infectious diseases so as not to be a potential contaminant in the business. 5, passing of laws relating to zoning. So this now the government uses to prevent firms and businesses that they do not use harmful substance or products in or they prevent them from operating like in residential areas so that, persons' health are being affected, or it prevents them from polluting the environment. So there are zoning laws that are put in place. So no business cannot just go in any neighborhood and just set up a business like that. So those were five. You just need to select any two from that and you will get your 4 marks. The E part of the question now says, the final part of the question says, the government of your country has set up centers to train citizens in computer engineering and small appliance repair. Explain two benefits that could be gained from this initiative. So, what are two benefits? One, increased job creation and employment opportunities. Now, training allows individuals to increase their earning income potential. They can also become self employed and start their own business, which in turn will boost their earning and reduce the unemployment rate. Another benefit, it can improve skills and knowledge. Now, this will produce a skilled workforce, which allow individuals to match up to the technological changes in these sectors of industries. Now, these improvements will positively affect the productivity of workers, which can increase the profit and efficiency of an organization. A third benefit, it can boost productivity in the economy. A successful economy has a workforce capable of operating industries at a level where it holds a competitive advantage over the economies of others. That is why you have some countries, because of expertise, then they'll do best or better than some other countries because of the highly trained workforce that they have. So you will be awarded 6 marks for that. So that is it. We have come to the end of the Principles of Business January 2019 past paper 2. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video.